So one of the most important mental health secrets that people don't really discuss is this concept of growing your brain.
I love the way you've separated the mind and the brain, because most people say, what's the difference? There's a brain and a mind, aren't they the same? And what's the difference? And the difference is huge. But what advice could you give our audience? How could they use their mind to heal, to grow, to succeed in every area of their life? What kind of tips could you give us? Very simple, practical things that would help people use their mind to heal and grow their brain to succeed.
Okay, so first part is that what you've said really, really well in your question is what can they do to grow their brain? And that's absolutely key. You can grow your brain. So one of the most important mental health secrets that people don't really discuss is this concept of growing your brain. So your brain is a very, very hungry organ. It wants to be constantly stimulated. When it's dead, it doesn't need that because it's disintegrating. So your mind once again becomes the source of the brain's desire to, or the brain's need to be built. So an alive person is now creating this force in the brain, and the brain wants to grow. So when we talk about growing the brain, I talk about building the brain. We want to, the brain constantly wants to have new knowledge. So when you wake up in the morning, you have lots and lots of new baby nerve cells. That's neurogenesis. And those new baby nerve cells need to be used during the course of the day. They're basically there to be built into the networks of the brain, to have other branches grown from them. Because as we're thinking, feeling, and choosing, we actually have this ability to grow new thoughts, to make new proteins. As I've been saying, you take the knowledge and you convert it into these structures which are made of protein. So brain building is an essential tip. And brain building is quite simplistically spending at least 45 minutes to 2 hours in blocks. You can spend a 15-minute block, whatever, but to try and build into the course of your day at least a 15-minute, but if you can, ideally go for a 2-hour sort of over either one stop or broken up over the day, but brain building. So brain building is taking anything. It could be taking a newspaper article. It could take a video that you love watching or something on YouTube that fascinates you. It could be a fiction, non-fiction book. It could be anything. And the concept is to take that knowledge and to systematically go through that and grow that as thoughts into your brain. As you do that, you draw on those new baby nerve cells and you create these lattices in your brain that then help you to get the brain into a very resilient state. So as the stresses of the day and as the undealt with traumas of the past and as the new traumas of the current and future, which is going to happen, come, your latticing is very strong in your brain. So it's kind of a foundational thing. So with my patients, when I practice, the first thing I would always do is, obviously once we've done the basic diagnostics and so on, would be to build, part of their session would always be brain building. And then I would go into the heavy stuff of the detoxing and the sort of fixing part, so that you build strength in before that. So that's one tip. And then there's obviously a system that I've got for overarching all of these. But then another basic tip is when you wake up in the morning, what's absolutely vital is when you go to sleep at night, the way that your chemicals move through your brain and the way that the different parts of your brain function shift. So your mind almost makes your brain work back to front at night, and then during the day it's front to back sort of thing. So things shift. Now, as you're waking up in the morning, this shift from sleep to wakefulness is a very, very critical time where we start the process that we need to continue through the day as a tip, and that is self-regulation. I call it it's self-regulation, but there's a specific way you do it where you employ this ability that we have as humans to stand back and observe yourself. So as you stand back and observe yourself, we can do it right now as I'm talking. You can watch yourself listening. You can watch yourself. I can watch myself. I know my hands are moving. I'm aware of me watching you. I'm aware of everything in my office. I'm aware of my voice to intonation simply because I said it. So in other words, I am consciously and deliberately watching how I am thinking, feeling, choosing, and expressing myself and the impact on others. Now that skill will help us to manage the messiness of our mind in the morning as we wake up, and then set the tone for managing during the day. So self-regulation starts as you wake up, and if you catch yourself, for example, complaining or very negative, that causes brain damage literally immediately and throws your brain waves off and your frequencies of your brain, etc. And that sets you up for a bad day unless you catch it, or just makes the day so much more tough. So if you can immediately get into and observe that and then shift and say, okay, why am I feeling like this? Well, how can I reconstruct that? Just, I mean, that could take you a few seconds. And there's a whole system that I've developed called the neurocycle that you can use to develop all these neurocycle things. And then during the course of the day, if you can, once you start the day like that, keep in a self-regulated state, keep in this multiple perspective advantage, and keep doing your brain building. I mean, that's just a couple of tips. And then there's obviously the whole system that I've developed to do this called the neurocycle, which is based on, you know, the theory that you mentioned, my geodesic theory, plus all my research over the past 38 years, and the clinical application.
And what about your story? Because I love stories. What led you, or when have you most needed to work on your own mindset? Would you share some of your story with us?
Yeah, I've got a podcast called Cleaning Up the Mental Mess, and if people want to know lots about my story, I often pop in like in-depth little things, anecdotes that happened in my own life. So very early on in my research, I saw that, hey, this is not just for my patients, this is for me. I used to wake up complaining every day. I used to wake up seeing the negative and wondering why my day was so challenging and why I was so exhausted at the end of the day. So I started practicing using the system on myself first. So that was one of the things, and I found that shifted my whole day and my whole sleep pattern. So very early on. Also, I have, like anyone, we've all had our challenges in life. I mean, my husband was an alcoholic for 11 years, and we've been married 35. And dealing with that and having 4 babies and trying to do research and PhDs, there was a lot of challenges in my life, and many times when we nearly got divorced, but we pushed through. And if I didn't have a system of recognizing I'm feeling this because of these reasons, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is my action plan, and being able to actually talk it through, I would have fallen apart. So the key thing that really facilitated the process, and I didn't actually go for therapy, but because I had so many friends that were therapists, and I would talk this through, and I was training people all the time. So I was always using my own story I was lecturing, training physicians, training therapists. So I think all the time I was giving myself therapy and talking to these people and the feedback. So in other words, I didn't push it down. For my story has been one of as I go through anything in a day, as something hits me, I know how to recognize and read my patterns. So as soon as there's any kind of emotional pattern that throws me, and I see it's consistent, I know that I need to do a 63-day cycle, that there's something that, if there's a pattern, it means that I've got something that I haven't dealt with, and I will start working through. I'm always working through a 63-day cycle, because there's always traumas from the past that come up, that triggered. There's new traumas that we experience. And I mean, that's just life. We should be trauma informed, as I'm sure you agree. In terms of just how I apply the neurocycle in terms of my daily existence, the challenges of running a business and 4 kids that are adults and doing research, like anyone, I'm busy and things happen. Someone will put a terrible comment on an Instagram post, or I'll get an email that throws you, or there's a trauma in the family. I honestly I've got my mind to a point where I allow myself to get depressed. I allow myself that anxiety. I give myself permission, because I don't see it as an illness. I see it as it's okay to be a mess. Mm-hmm. And then I work in repairing it and growing. And it's that permission. I'm kind to myself. I allow myself, I get it out. Sometimes I'll lose my temper and get mad and irritated about the most dumb things. I don't get guilt about that. I say, okay, gosh, that was wrong. I use the guilt in a good way. Hey, that hurt someone, I catch it quickly. So I'm 80% more efficient in seeing the mess, catching the mess, repairing it, and growing. And that's how I manage my stories, is being very authentic, honest, open, and not trying to be perfect. It's recognizing the perfection in me is going to drive the messiness. So I'm very good at owning the mess and cleaning the mess. I don't stay in the mess. That is one thing. I allow the mess to be expressed. I'll get the irritation out, but because I'm so self-regulated, I'll pick it up quickly. So I'll see, hey, that was really a nasty comment that I just said to my husband, or that was not a necessary way of thinking about someone who sent me an email or something, because that's not good for my brain and body. It's going to give me brain damage. It's affecting my telomeres and the million cells I'm making every second. So I'm aware of that, and I use that, and I give myself permission, and I fix it, and I repair, and I grow.
I love that. What you're saying is, I allow myself to be a flawed person, having flawed relationships with flawed people, because when you try to be perfect, I mean, people often think that therapists and doctors and scientists are perfect. All child psychologists have perfect children, all marriage counselors have perfect marriages.
Yeah.
Dietitians have perfect diets. They don't, because they're human. And I love the fact that you say, I let myself fail, I let myself mess up because I'm human.
Exactly.
It's so refreshing because most people are so busy trying to be perfect, which is not possible.
No.
Just being a flawed human, that's the best all of us can ever be.
Exactly.
Check out my next video here.